right. Hello, Greater Philadelphia. Welcome to Toole Time Real Estate Radio. I'm Sarah Timon. I'm here with Stacy Mitchell, and we have special guest Curtis Maynard here with Delco Trim Light. We will be diving into that a little bit later on in the show here. We are streaming live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and you are listening to WWDB 860 AM.
Ooh,
So,
nice intro.
Yeah. Thank you. And Tom is not with us today, so wish us luck. We have a lot of interesting topics to get into today, as well as, again, Curtis being here. So we look forward to talking to him. One of the first topics that we were going to jump into today is the highest percentage of cancellations in the year. So there was an article that just came out here on Redfin recently, and the title is Home Purchases Fell Through at the Highest Rate in Nearly a Year in August. It goes on to say that some home buyers got cold feet as mortgage rates hit the highest levels in over 2 decades and prices continued to rise, but buyer demand and new listings have stabilized following months of declines. So the first number that it really throws at us here is that nationwide, nearly 60,000 home purchase agreements were canceled in August. That was about 15.7% of homes that went under contract, and that's up from 14.3% a year earlier. So, when you look at the difference between last year to this year, it doesn't seem like quite as huge of a number, I would say, because there's always going to be contracts that fall through. But that was kind of a surprising number to see here as we were looking at it. I think one of the biggest factors that it goes on to explain is, as we all know, mortgage rates are high or higher than what had previously been in the mix. So that is probably one of the largest factors that went into this. It goes on to kind of give a graph of like months from 2017 up until August 2023. So I'm sure that Nick will be able to post that here for everybody to see and just to kind of get eyes on the track record here for how these declines have trended over the last few years. Now, what's interesting here as well, as always, real estate, as we often talk about, is local. So this is a national number. A little bit later on here, I'll get into where Philadelphia actually fell into this mix. It's a little bit below the national level. But I don't know, Stacey, do you find that surprising, or have you noticed, contracts kind of terminating or falling through more now than before?
Personally, I haven't noticed. Like you said, Sarah, there's always going to be terminations for different reasons, mostly because of inspections. If buyers are getting inspections, you just never know what can turn up, especially if there's a septic or water or well inspection, things like that. And sometimes you get a client could get under contract, sleep on it, and before that, 5-day period where they put their earnest deposit, they just seriously get cold feet.
Right.
And they, they're like, we just can't do this.
Yeah.
That is real.
Oh, yeah.
So that could be part of this too.
For sure. I mean, I feel like there's a couple different hurdles as you're going through the transaction that as each one passes, you're like, okay, we made it through that one. The first one being the deposit. You know, did the deposit get made? Are they, and as they were making it, were they still excited? Were they still, where are we at there? Then if there's inspections involved, you've got that inspection piece, which we'll continue to talk about here in one of the upcoming articles. And then I would say the last piece being the appraisal. So although typically by the time you get to that point, you're pretty, and you would have run your numbers. You've got a good idea of where things are coming in. Usually by the time you get to the appraisal piece, at least for me, I'm usually feeling pretty confident that that things are going to go through. Maybe some concessions have to get made, but you're feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah. It really depends on how much, if you're going through the inspections, it depends on how much each side feels like they've conceded.
Right.
So if, if the seller feels like, I wasn't going to do anything and this was sold as is, but I have to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and then you get to that appraisal and something falls short and you're
Yeah.
asking for more,
Yeah.
that's, that's could be a problem at that point. But every deal is so different.
Right.
Every deal is so different. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't know from, day to day what could come up,
Yeah.
what could happen.
Right, right. So, I mean, for me, and I
Yes.
haven't been in the game for a little bit here, but you guys are seeing people still compete for these listings, right?
Mhm.
And there's less available right now. And then
Mhm.
I used to see this, last year, the year before, where people would put a big offer on it. They'd be like, "Hey, I went 50,000 over asking," and then they go home. They're like, "Wait a minute, I don't know what I did."
Right.
So I think that's
Yeah.
got to be a big part of it. And now, especially with limited inventory,
Right.
you feel like you're getting pushed into something, and then you talk to your uncle, and
Right.
then boom.
Oh, when
Yeah.
the family gets
Yeah.
involved, it
Uh-huh.
becomes
Right.
very interesting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But then the other thing too, some folks are getting pre-approved based on certain interest rates,
Mhm.
right? So they get these preliminary kind of estimated cost sheets.
Mhm.
So say it's based on like a 7% interest or 7.125.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
the interest rate has been fluctuating so much. I mean, really day to day.
Yes.
We get every day we get notified of what the daily interest
Yeah.
rates are, which is kind of unprecedented. It
Right.
didn't used to fluctuate that much.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be like you could almost not solely rely on, but like Mondays, we always
Mhm.
get that sheet with like the breakdown, and you could
Uh-huh.
kind of assume that's where you were at for the week. And now you
Mhm.
really, it's Wednesday, and it's like Mondays might not be valid. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So then they get an updated estimated sheet at a 7.5%.
Mhm.
And, it can change things. So when
Uh-huh.
that reality kicks in,
Yep.
people could be, they could terminate based on,
Right.
on those new figures, not knowing that, well, maybe it could turn around in 2 more days from now. You don't have
Right.
to lock in yet.
Right. Well, and the seeing side by side there, the cost to get in, your closing costs, when all of those numbers come together, and it's like, even if those were all explained to them, and even though when you go to submit any offer, they're signing off on that buyer estimated cost sheet, they may, when you're in the mix of like, signing all of this paperwork,
Mhm.
and depending on what offer number this is that you're putting in, you may be breezing through some of them. Reality can set in, and it can be a little scary for, if it wasn't what you were expecting. So certainly I think there's probably a lot of people pulling out within those first
Mhm.
couple days.
I've had clients get under contract. They were so excited. And then they shared the news with family across the country
Mm-hmm.
and who
Yes.
haven't purchased a house in 25, 30 years.
Yep.
And that family member is like shocked that they waived their inspections,
Mhm.
Right.
So then that plants the seed in my client's head.
Yeah.
And luckily in that situation, because they were going to terminate, I was able to renegotiate
Oh, wow.
a home inspection just for
Nice.
informational purposes,
Yeah.
just to satisfy her parents who were living in like Colorado
Right.
and decided to throw their 2 cents in. So,
And probably hadn't like
but,
had a real estate transaction
Right.
in
Yes.
15 plus years.
and the funny thing is, it was a newer townhouse. So it was like built in 2017.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So, I
Yeah.
felt confident that there was not going to be anything to be found. I just had to reassure the listing agent and the seller that we were strictly doing this for informational purposes and
Right.
kind of not trying to renegotiate the deal that we've already agreed to. So,
And
you
maybe,
walk
and I'm
some-
sure kind of like working with them, like why this has come about
Right.
now, and that this is more to like,
Right. They weren't
appease-
happy, but
Yeah.
we got it done.
Yeah.
But those things come up.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then, on top of that, we've got that home prices are still increasing. So, the demand is there. The interest rates are up, but the home prices are not falling, and we don't anticipate them to. So it's still a market out there where you need to go out and you need to be competitive. Like, we're not seeing those values dropping.
Right. Yep. And interesting, there's certain markets that this is really having an effect on. I noticed that it said Allentown, Pennsylvania led the nation with 54.9% year over year decline.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my
So, I mean, Allentown's a pretty big hub. It's a big distribution center, and I know it was expanding during
Mhm.
COVID, because everything was mail order.
Mhm.
Nobody was really shopping. They were online shopping. So maybe it really peaked and grew during that time.
Right.
And just it's kind of retracting naturally at this
Right.
point. But also it says Greensboro, North Carolina was the second highest.
Okay.
So it's like you said, Sarah, real estate is hyper local.
Mhm.
So where these numbers seem to be huge, this was a nationwide article.
Right. Absolutely. Then it goes on to say that new listings have ticked up slightly, but overall housing supply remains at a record low. So, even though some more listings have come up, some more things are, days on market may have like ticked up a little bit. With all of these factors coming in, it's not like we're suddenly sitting on months and months supply of inventory. And again, as I feel like constantly are reiterating, everything is local. So when you're looking at national numbers and stuff, you kind of want to hammer it down to what's actually going on here in your own market.
The median sale price increased 3%
Mhm.
year over year. So when clients say to me, or when clients say to you, or you, Curtis, I'm going to wait for the prices to drop.
Right.
Like, I can't, I mean, honestly, have prices for cars ever dropped?
Right.
Have prices for groceries ever dropped? Have prices for clothes ever dropped? I mean, like for services ever
Right,
dropped?
yeah.
Right.
If somebody said, Curtis, I'm going to wait and have my lights installed when your prices drop next year,
Right.
it's like,
Right.
that's not going to happen.
Right.
And sometimes, I mean, I get this question a lot. I'm sure you do
Mhm.
too. I'm going to wait for the prices to drop and the interest rates to come down. It's like, well, and I had this great chart from keeping keeping.
Current matters.
Thank you. Oh my Lord. Today, and I posted them in our threads. That it went over all this in detail. Like for the next 5 years, the speculation, 3.3% increase in 2023. Now 2024 is speculated the lowest increase, but the prices are still going to increase 2.17%, 3% 2025, 3.79% 2026, and 4.18% in 2027.
Right.
So the home prices are not going to drop. And honestly, you don't want them to drop.
Right.
If
Right.
you're going to make this investment,
Right.
you don't want the bottom to fall out.
Right. Well, because
Exactly.
one of the other very common things that you hear from people are, I don't want to pay this and then have it not be worth that later,
Mhm.
So it's kind of reassurance that, like, yes, you always need to run the numbers. You need to be smart about your offers. But yeah, its values are not coming down. You shouldn't want them to come down. And those are very, like that rate for what it's going up per year is
Mhm.
sustainable. It's healthy. It's not like you never want to see in either direction for like anything in real estate to be like skyrocketing and then dipping and then, going all over the place. You want it to be kind of like, slow and steady, which is what you're seeing with those numbers, which is good news.
Right.
But also not good news if your plan is to wait for everything to just like bottom
Right.
out.
Yeah, your waiting could cost you money.
For sure.
And if you're waiting for interest rates to drop, that's the other thing that, it's just speculation where they're going to go, where interest rates are going to go. One thing for certain, unless there's another pandemic or it's some kind of emergency, they're not going to be in those low ranges that we
Right.
saw during 2020. That was a very special set of circumstances.
Mhm.
It was intentionally done that way to keep the economy going.
Right. A worldwide pandemic.
Yes.
Right.
Basically.
Right. Which we
Yeah.
should not be rooting for to
Yeah.
come back.
Just need another one. If rates come down, and then house prices will go up again, right? So
Yeah.
last time that happened, from what I remember, is home prices went way up,
Yes.
and then there wasn't enough for sale then, so then they kept going up.
Yep.
And 3% is really good if that's
Right.
all we're going up now.
Yeah.
To me, I'd rather take the chance if I found the home that was right for me,
Mhm.
like get it and
Yep.
then at least I have a house.
Right.
I'm not,
Yes.
not still renting. And
Right.
then one day, hopefully, rates come down. But
Right.
even if they don't, your home value still goes up.
Right.
Right.
You still win over the long term, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And real estate is the single biggest um, person's oh, that's my phone, sorry. The biggest single investment that most people make.
Right.
It's their biggest like nest egg
Mhm.
that most people make. It's very solid. It is the American dream.
Yeah.
So, if you have number one, the motivation,
Mhm.
you've saved your money for your down payment, you got pre-approved, go for it.
Right.
You have to go for it because each year that you put off, that's more and more equity that you're losing. You're going to continue to pay the higher price points
Right.
because
Right.
the values are going to continue to increase. That's what I try to explain to clients.
Right.
As each home closes on the market, it becomes a comp.
Right.
So, that's just where that's just how it
Right.
naturally grows.
And we're not in an area where new construction can just pop up all over the place, and it's you're always going to be limited by the inventory with all these people that locked into these low interest rates that then don't want to list because they don't want to go to the higher one. We're looking at many years of tight inventory.
hmm And a lot of home buyers have decided to develop build to rent communities. Have you noticed that? Like these mega apartments, luxury apartments.
Mm-hmm.
So the space that is available to build, a lot of these big home builders are investing that way. Uh, they sell to investors like J.P. Morgan and pension funds and other public companies, so that they're getting a return on their investment.
Right.
And
Right.
what are they investing in? Real estate.
Right. Yeah.
So, it makes sense to invest in real estate, not to continue to rent into these build to rent communities
Right.
where you're actually paying into these big companies and these
Exactly.
big funds.
Exactly.
Right. And then you're at their, you're stuck, right? Because they can raise the rent on you every single year
Mm-hmm.
versus, okay, yeah, you're sure your insurance will go up or your taxes will go up, but it's not going to be at the same rate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know my neighbor's mortgage is probably half what I'm paying right now every month, and I know in 15 years the guy who moves in their house,
Yep.
whenever they decide to move away to Florida or wherever, theirs will be double what mine is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, like I'm saving thousands of dollars versus renting over that stuff. So
Exactly.
I don't know. I still think it's the right move.
Yeah.
Right. And it always still comes down to that monthly payment. And if you can afford, when you calculate it out, like if you can afford the monthly payment, there are always going to be factors that are outside of your control. But like, look at what you can control. Look at if the property is right for you and if you can afford it. And then you can lock in there. And if things change and you can refinance down the line, amazing, But you kind of have to boil it down to that and not have the mindset of, well, I'm paying so much more than I would have like a couple years ago. Well, yeah, in a couple years you're gonna wish you did it now. It's
It's so
controlling what you
true.
can control.
Right. We can't turn back, yeah, everything's higher than it was 20 years ago.
Right.
You could continuously say that
Yeah.
every year that passes. So what I say to my clients is, we just have to just get the house.
Yeah.
If it works for you,
Mhm.
if it's in the school district that you're looking for, if it fits your family, then just get the house.
Right.
Go for it.
Right. And then the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on from this article was there was like a breakdown of different cities here. And then it has August 2023 pending sales that fell out of contract. And then there is the July 2023 numbers for what fell out of contract. And then it goes back a year to August 22. So we've got August this year, July this year, August last year. So some of the high ones, Atlanta, Georgia had a 23.7% for contracts that fell out of the pending stage compared to July 22.6. So that ticked up a little bit just in that month. However, their August number from 2022 was 24.6, so even higher. So like it's a little bit interesting there for that one. Then there were a lot of cities that had more moderate, lower numbers. Fort Lauderdale was pretty high. They had 23.1 in August compared to 20.7 in July, with the previous year being at 21.6. And Jacksonville, Florida was pretty high here, 26.6 in August, 21.7 in July. So just that month, big difference. And then last year in August, 24.7. And then I guess just to bring it home locally here, Philadelphia, we saw 13.2% in August compared to 12.4% in July, but last year August 13.1, so basically the same. So we're kind of tracking right where we've been. So that just kind of breaks down here that article on people terminating contracts, pending sales falling through, and kind of breaking that down a little bit. I think next we're gonna take a break here, and we will be back in a few minutes to get on to our next section.
For the best local mortgage service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized, local service you find at Mortgage America.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30-plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestateScholarshipProgram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoolewithane.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com. Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
Okay, so we are back. Woo! We have Curtis here from, let me get to his website, Delco Trimlight. We're going to dive into your business in the last segment. And we're back here with Sarah. And Nick's behind the camera over there.
Oh, sorry, Nick. I didn't give you the shout out at the beginning.
So this next segment, we're going to cover the commission lawsuit. So I think this was breaking news a couple of weeks ago when we were on air, and Tom broke the news that Anywhere, who is the mothership of Better Homes and Gardens, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Corcoran, ERA, and Sotheby's, which is huge. It's a huge conglomeration. They settled first. They settled with on these commission lawsuits. And now we just found out that RE/MAX has decided to settle also for $55 million. So a little backstory here. There's 2 lawsuits that are in process now. The Merle lawsuit in Illinois and the Missouri lawsuit of Sitzer and Burnett. So basically, the lawsuits, there were sellers and seller agents that were suing because of the commissions. So they're saying that some of these sellers are indicating that they didn't know the commissions were split, that they didn't know that they weren't that they were negotiable. They feel like they've been duped. So that's kind of my understanding of what the lawsuits are.
Okay.
So
What's like a little bit interesting there, like if they knew the total number of the commission and they were okay with it, but then they're just like not okay with part of it going to the buyer agent, it's kind of funny. So it wasn't like a bottom line number thing. It was
everybody signs off on these contracts. So that's what we don't understand. Like, weren't they fully aware? They did sign the documents. They were in agreement. They wanted their home sold. They entered into a contract with a listing agent, and their home was sold.
right.
And they got the proceeds.
Yeah.
And the buyer's agents, were paid, and the buyer got the house, and apparently everybody was happy until I think a couple of attorneys got together and decided to bring lawsuits. But
right.
this is, it's always questionable and a controversy, but the commissions are always advertised in our MLS system. They're always very transparent. You can, you can offer, it was $1 compensation. Now I think it's 0.
Right.
But anyway, these lawsuits were going on, and anywhere they started out first by settling. So I think that really started to crack the floor there. And now we just found out that RE/MAX has decided to go into settlement for $55 million. Now, the details of the settlement are not disclosed, as with Anywhere's settlement too. I believe theirs was for $88 million, if I'm not mistaken. It was higher, much higher.
83.5.
Okay. So, but RE/MAX did file with the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. So there was some details revealed. The settlement resolves all claims in the lawsuits and similar claims on a nationwide basis against RE/MAX, and releases RE/MAX and the company, their subsidiaries and affiliates, and RE/MAX sub-franchisors, franchisees, and their sales associates in the United States from the claims. So they are settling. They just want to get this wrapped up. They're not admitting to any fault,
Right.
but they are no longer interested in carrying out this lawsuit, so they offered settlement.
Right. Yeah. They go on to say this is not an admission or concession of liability or of the validity of any claim, defense, or point of fact or law on the part of any party. So they're just doing it because they don't want to have continued costs of going on with the litigation.
Right. And these lawsuits do take aim at NAR's participation role. It requires listing agents to make a blanket offer of compensation to buyer's agents in order to list the property on a realtor-affiliated multiple listing service, which is the MLS. And according to the plaintiffs, the commission sharing inflates the costs for consumers. That's what they're saying, in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. NAR, which they have their own problems, and we don't need to get into that right now, it's a whole different story, contends that the current commission structure, which has been in place for over 100 years, actually helps consumers. So I know we've talked about this a lot, but the effect that this is going to have on the consumer, I think, is profound, especially when it comes to buyers.
Right.
Because the whole reason a buyer's agent was created was because buyers were getting the short end of the stick for the most part. They either have to have dual agency with the listing agent, and that could be unsettling,
right,
or uncomfortable. They have to hire their own attorney, or they're going to have to
pay the buyer, pay their agent.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So they're already coming to the table with their closing costs, their down payment to buy a house, and everybody. There's a lot of rumblings out there now of housing unaffordability. So what do you think this is going to do to buyers potentially.
Right. I mean, I would think the surest thing would be most likely they'd have to offer less for the house because they're going to now have to, account for monies that go to their agent. Now, I guess the only place that would really save the seller would be a lower transfer tax, which is very minimal compared to
Pennsylvania's not changing that.
Right. Oh yeah. No. But if you're paying your transfer tax based off of the purchase price of the house, and now you've got a slightly lower purchase price, then I guess you're not paying as much of it in transfer tax, but you're not getting as much for the house. So I don't think it's even trade there. And I mean, the last thing that I would want as a seller would be to have an unrepresented buyer who, I don't know, you want it to get to settlement. You don't get this far into it to then at the very end have things fall apart. And depending on, where the buyer's head was at or what they thought was going on or whatnot, I mean, they may be willing to lose their earnest deposit. If they're no longer protected by any contingencies, they may be willing to give up their deposit and not move forward with the transaction, depending on the degree of maybe what they thought was happening or what they thought was going on.
And we work with a lot of first-time home buyers. And you see when we're talking to them and we're trying to explain the process just to give them, a basic rundown so they have a kind of a preliminary idea of what's going to happen.
Right.
And you can see that they're almost oh my gosh,
Right.
It's almost like you're talking a different language, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times going through the process, I mean, you're constantly fielding questions, and it's even if you bought a house 10 years ago, the process is something people don't remember.
Right.
They
Right.
kind of choose to forget.
Right.
So it could be a big problem for first-time home buyers, especially people. I work with a lot of people that have been here in this country 10, 15 years. They, it's English might not be their first language. That's a problem.
Right.
Reading contracts, going through contracts. How do you think those folks are going to be able to get through?
Right.
They're going to have to hire outside. So I think it's going to create a lot of issues. I think the consumer is going to be the ones that get hurt in this the most. And the other thing also to keep in mind, we know that people who try to sell for sale by owner, they are capturing almost 17% less of their asking price.
Yeah.
So to hire a listing agent, even with the
Commissions.
commission split,
You're
they're still making
getting
more money.
Yeah, you're walking away with more. Right.
Yeah. Do either of you think that if buyers have to pay the buyer's agency commission, that'll force more of them to go to, work with it's more of a cheaper budget agent where they're like, hey, I only have to pay 1% or 0.5% or 0 if I'm using, let's say, one of those companies that sells it themselves. They offer you some discount. And do you think that in dealing with those companies, do you think that is a good move for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it will cause people to either go to the cheapest one or maybe try and do it themselves potentially without, and I guess they won't, if they do successfully get under contract and then get to settlement, they may not ever know what they lost, what they, what they had conceded on throughout they're just seeing that one number and oh, good, I saved this on commission. But and they're probably not going to ever know what else they could have gotten for it. So in that way, maybe it's better that they don't know, because if the deal's already done, it's already done. You can't go back and get it back. But yeah, I think that there will be people that either go to the discount brokerages and have a bad experience, or don't successfully ever get to settlement, or leave money on the table.
And then we'll be back to wanting buyers to have their own representation.
Right. Or, I mean, what we've talked about a lot on the show is, and a lot in our office meetings and everything, is proving to your buyers your value beyond, I'm here to open a door. So make them want to, not like everybody ever wants to like pay people money, but like, make them be like, this is worth the money to have somebody who's knowledgeable, who can strategize with me, can get us to the finish table in a way that I can make work, and then in that case, they may build that into their model for where they need to spend their money and where all that needs to go. But there's going to be a lot of people who, because there's so many buyers who they're down to like scraping things to try to, because also like they can have all the estimated costs, they can know where things are going, but then it gets really real as you get closer. And then if there is anything else that pops up, or like if you had, every once in a while you'll see like the buyer's responsible for the UNO and you expect it's going to be like, oh, it's going to be nothing, I'm just going to pay for the cert, and then like some stuff comes up, and then if there are unforeseen things that pop up throughout the transaction, you might not have much wiggle room left.
And buyers might not even understand what they're agreeing to.
Right.
Really. If it says buyer is responsible for UNO, they might not even know what that means.
Yeah.
And they might agree to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do think for consumers, for the buyers, it's going to be.
And I just had something come up over the weekend, and was going through the contract on it it was one where buyer's responsible for UNO. And when you're looking at the contract on the one page where it's talking about UNO, it has that the seller, because normally it's the seller that does it, they go in, they do the UNO. If the UNO comes back and it's beyond what the seller wants to do, the seller can go to the buyer and say, hey, I'm not going to do this, but if you want to do it, you can do it, and the sale goes through. If the buyer doesn't want to, they can terminate. But if you as the buyer from the beginning say that you're responsible for UNO, the way that we were going to do it, and then actually it ended up going under contract before we got it in, but was to put in additional language in the additional terms for like a threshold for what you'd be willing to go up to, because you do have you have to protect yourself.
You do. And every UNO is different.
Yeah, all the townships.
So they all have different use and occupancy. Some have the sewer lateral. And if that comes back negative, that could be a huge expense.
Yeah.
So, but this is, it's very interesting. What are your thoughts? Do you think there's going to be more settling on this lawsuit?
Yeah, I think once a couple of these big guys, well, who all's left that's still?
So Anywhere and RE/MAX have settlements. The only defendants left are the NAR, Home Services, and Keller Williams.
I think if one more jumps on the bandwagon to settle, they all do.
Yeah.
And I feel like since two already went, the likelihood that the others will is more in favor of them doing that.
Yeah. I
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
If RE/MAX and Anywhere, who apparently that includes almost everyone.
Yeah.
Every type of brokerage
Yeah.
I've ever heard of. They're settling. It means there's something there. They think they're gonna end up paying more,
Right.
or have to deal with more.
Yeah.
Or pay more lawyers.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure they've got like a smart person that's running the numbers for like projections for like, all right, this is what we've already spent on attorney stuff. This is, how long it'll probably take, or so maybe it would depend on what the settlement amount was, and then it's just a business decision, like what costs less money.
Exactly. Yeah. They haven't, there's no date slated yet for the trial to start. It's expected to start in early 2024. I would assume that NAR is definitely going to settle.
Yeah.
Because they already have so many issues. They want to get something off their plate here. So I think once they settle, definitely the other two are gonna follow suit and just settle. They definitely want this to go
Or I
away.
wonder if there would also be a holdout for like if 4 settle and then the last one doesn't. Is the other side gonna continue to, like, if they've already gotten all of this in settlement from everybody else, are they gonna want to continue to pay attorney fees to continue to pursue the one last party that they're trying to go after? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I have no idea how it works. I assume the attorneys are getting paid out of the settlement costs.
Huge.
So,
the only one's getting paid in all
yeah,
this.
they're the ones who win.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we were wondering when we were talking about this before. Where does all this money go?
Right.
Who gets it?
Right.
Yeah, like I sold a house am I gonna get some of it? I had to pay
Joined
Were you
suit.
part of the class
a buyer's
action?
agency fee. Hold on a second.
Right,
Wait,
that's
what's,
what we were wondering.
yeah, what state were you in?
That was in Missouri.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, but back to that that was an interesting one where both of us were representing ourselves. Like it was
Oh.
kind of a FISBO deal.
All right.
I would if you're out there
Hmm.
thinking about doing that, don't do it. It was a
Tell
nightmare.
us your experience.
It was pretty bad because both of us were real estate agents, and the other agent expected a lot out of me. That like I thought I was doing them a solid.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look, if you give me this much money, I won't put it on the market.
Yeah.
I need to move.
Yeah.
You want to live in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
We both win here, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted to get an inspection, and this is back in 2017. Okay, so sorry, that is wrong. It was in 2021. I know where I am. Don't worry about me. It was in 2021, and nobody was getting inspections, and I was like, hey, sure, all right, but like I'm not gonna do anything here. And sure enough, they asked for all kinds of stuff. And they were mad when I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'll just sell it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And, it eventually settled. And then they took me to small claims court a year later.
Really?
Oh my
It was,
God.
Really?
I don't really, the details are kind of, it's kind of a long,
Wow.
boring story. But
Doesn't sound
eventually
boring.
it was, I think if I had just gotten somebody else to deal with it for me,
Yeah.
and there was a person in between,
Right.
Yep.
it would never have happened that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That buffer is
It
more
got-
important
yeah.
than some people realize. Yeah.
Yeah.
it got personal, I think, for her because she expected me to do something for her
Yep.
that I was like, I don't have to. I'm not
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah.
And like,
Wow.
I ended up doing, you got to go to court.
Oh,
Did you have to like fly
goodness.
back down for it?
I got to do a virtual.
Oh, well, that's
hearing,
Oh
which
my
is-
gosh,
which is
what
awesome.
a nightmare. And the interesting part about your story is that you're both real estate agents
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're both representing yourself
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it still went completely
Yeah.
sideways.
I would not do it.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I would, if I ever move again,
Yeah.
which I don't want to.
Right.
I want to be here forever. But if I ever do, I'm not doing that. I'm going to pay somebody else to deal with that.
Right.
Just
Right.
because there's so many, like you're trying to move.
Yeah.
It's not that easy to deal with every little thing coming up and also try to pack your stuff and,
Right.
find daycare for your kid in a new place
Yeah.
and all that stuff. It's
Well,
not
and
worth
once
it.
like emotions get so heightened, and if there isn't somebody in there to be like the barrier, and to kind of like separate some things or like field how things are delivered or said, like you can still get the same point across, but like just having somebody else do it, or even like being able to have that like time frame to be like, let me check with them and I'll get back to you.
Right.
Can like versus if you're both like, if it's both of you, it's like, well, tell me right now,
Right.
like,
There's a cool down period.
yeah, there's like a way to be able to be like, I will need to check on that.
Yeah, keeping the emotions out of it.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
is so big. And
Yeah.
having I don't know how many people I've dealt with that I thought there's no chance if you didn't have an agent that you would ever
Oh,
buy
yeah.
a house.
Yeah.
It'll never happen.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
won't get along with anybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
If I've worked with you, it's not you.
yeah.
If you're if
Definitely not you. Well, it was
If
funny.
you think it's you, if you're watching this, no, not you. It's somebody else.
Well, it was funny. I was just texting with a client this morning who we're going to be looking like later this week. We're going out, meeting I have the buyers. It's the seller. They're going to be showing us. They're doing a deed package for the settlement. There's a pool. They just want to show them how to like use the pool and where everything is and yada yada. Both sides of the transaction. It was super smooth. I mean, there was nothing to negotiate over.
Yeah.
Clean offer.
Mhm.
Everything, nothing like hairy to get through. And my client texted me this morning and was like, hey, do you just want to like give me their number and I'll like line this, like, I feel bad that we have to like keep on going through it. And I was like, oh, that is strictly prohibited. I was like, we may not. Like, I don't even have the seller's phone number. And it's just to protect everybody from anything coming up
Right.
that is unforeseen. And
Right.
Uh-huh.
it does get emotional. And, even if everybody has been level headed the whole way through, it's just best to always go through your agents.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree. I agree. I do know that Tom talked about maybe some ideas with lenders financing the buyer's agency,
Mhm.
commission,
Oh,
but that's
yeah.
a whole different conversation. I don't even know how something like that would work, or could that even possibly get approved? Like, would banks take on that?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it's a strange concept.
I guess it depends on
Right.
the rules for
Yeah.
lending.
Yeah.
and-
Right.
Right.
And how you can
Roll
blend
that
them.
into the
Yeah.
loan.
I don't
Right.
know.
Because it would, if it's a closing cost, it still comes out of the buyer's pockets. But if
Right.
they roll that into
Right.
somehow, I mean, lenders
Yeah.
do want to fund mortgages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this,
Well, I'm sure there would also be some like trial and error, and like you don't necessarily want to be on the trial end of things
and have the error part.
Right.
Exactly.
What's that called in like a medical study when it's like before it gets
Oh,
actually
yeah,
approved? Right. Is
right.
that just a trial study?
Yeah,
I don't know. Like,
exactly.
I don't know. You probably don't want to be in if you don't have to be. But oh
right.
my gosh.
But it's, these fees have always been negotiated
Mhm.
when reviewing the contracts. So it's not like anybody's pulling a fast one. It's all
Right.
very clear in the contract. And I'm sure it's going to continue to be that way.
Right.
So I know that sellers, they want, if you're trying to sell your house in the fastest amount of time for the most amount of money, having representation and also agreeing to compensation for a buyer's agent, that's going to bring you the most people through your home.
Right.
You're going to get the most exposure
Mm-hmm.
than just having it hanging out there, by itself, waiting for buyers to come to you. It's going, that's
Right.
our marketing plan.
Right.
We actually go out and get the buyers into your house.
Right. And you want to have like qualified buyers. You don't just want to have a
Right.
sign out. Like you don't just want to have like, somebody that's in no way prepared to do anything. Like you don't want that to be a bulk of who's coming through, because we all know it takes, on average, 7 showings to generate like a good solid offer.
Right.
I would be curious to know if in this tighter market, if that number's maybe dropped a little bit, because most of the people that are out there seriously putting in offers, I don't know. But like the statistic is 7 showings to generate a good solid offer. So you want to get all those people through. You want
wanna get-
21
right.
coming in. You want 3 to
Mhm.
pick from. You want,
Right.
Oh yeah.
The more offers, the more competition. That's where you're going to
Yeah.
have concessions and higher purchase prices. And the
Exactly.
sellers win and the buyers win.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, should
So,
we take
we're going to
a-
wrap that up because
yeah,
we have to
yeah.
get to
Do we need to do a
Curtis
quick break,
here.
or do we just hop right
I
in?
don't know. I think we should just
I think
hop
we
right
just hop
in.
right in. Let's
Yeah,
hop right
let's hop right
in.
in.
Okay. All right.
All
We
right.
can do that.
So Curtis he has his company called Delco Trim Light. I love the shirt and the hat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us all about your business.
Okay, so we sell and install trim light, which is
Yes.
a permanent holiday lighting that, all right, it's LEDs. They go inside a aluminum channel that hides along your soffit line.
Mhm.
Really hard to see during the day. So like you're walking by my house and I have my sign out and it says, "Hey, we just got permanent holiday lighting." I had somebody look at it and go, "Hey, did you not put it up yet?" And they're like, "Actually, here, it's right here. You turn
Yeah.
it on, and there's lights hiding
Mind
in there."
blown.
It blends in really well. Like
Wow.
it's unbelievable. I'll show you both after.
Yeah.
But it hides it during the day, so you can't see it there. And then so all the wires, like there's some wires showing in some houses. Depends on how we can hide it, what the features of your house are.
Yeah.
But 99% of the wire in general is going to be completely hidden. And then at night you can set it to turn on to whatever colors you want. So like I can schedule every Eagles game. I can have
Yeah.
Eagles colors for when the
Wow.
Phillies make it to the postseason here. All red October, except for and then you got Halloween. I got like
Ooh.
some purple
so
and orange.
they're programmable. These lights
Yeah.
are programmable.
Yeah.
So, okay, so your website is delcotrimlight.com. And do you do interior lighting too? Or is it all exterior?
Yeah, so you could put it inside something if you wanted to. Like I've done it in. I wouldn't put it inside my house like necessarily. There might be some cool like commercial applications indoors. Um,
I was
but
just thinking about like around bars or in the kitchen. You know how you have seen those.
yeah, so you could. I mean, anything's possible. Like I'd be happy to do it if you have a
Well, I
place you
love
want-
on your website, like there's so, I mean, the examples that you're showing, commercial, like
Yeah.
you do commercial buildings,
Yep.
and the homes. And I love that you can change the color scheme. So basically, it's just one installation and it covers every single holiday
Endless possibilities.
across the board. So whatever holiday it is, like you said, for Halloween, you can do like orange or
You do like
Yeah.
orange and purple. It's got a lightning
Wow.
effect, so you can make it look
Ooh.
like it's like kind of like lightning
Ooh.
flashing, which is pretty cool.
That's fun.
There's like 180 preset patterns you can save and alter and do all kinds of stuff. For me, like I know when I was like the last few Christmases before I had it on there, right? I would not get up on a ladder and do the second level of my house. Like we're just putting it on the porch in the bushes.
Yeah.
Right. And because believe it or not, I don't really like to be on a ladder. I have a crew now who does.
I don't blame you.
But you don't have to do that. You don't have to take your life in your hands every, at the weekend after Thanksgiving, miss football games because you're putting up lights, like
Yeah.
doing all the
That's
old untangle
tragic.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, and for ladies out there, you don't have to be on your man to get these things up ever again. And
And
for
you
the,
don't ever have to take them down.
Yeah.
You see the houses in February, March, and you're like, oh my gosh, they still have their Christmas lights
Yeah.
on.
oh
you
my
know?
gosh, yeah, there's people with
Yeah.
icicle lights all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't really pay attention until I got involved in this, and
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So we also have like a string light product that can integrate with it. It's really cool. It makes your life a little bit easier. So people who put up temporary lights, or pay someone to put up temporary lights, they're paying every year. They have to store the lights. Some of them break. You have to pay for new bulbs, all that stuff. And they come out, put them up, and then they can take them down. You have like a whole month with them.
Yeah.
And with this, it costs more at first, but after 2-3 years of doing the other way,
Yeah.
You're done. And we have a lifetime product warranty. So the product was to last 50,000 hours, which comes out to be like 20 plus years. You're just using it in the evenings.
Yeah.
And
But
You
I love
don't-
the fact
you're
that it's
done.
for every holiday.
yeah,
So if people are paying all this money for just one season,
Right.
like one holiday, like you were saying, you pay a lot of money for somebody to come out and install the lights and then take them down.
yeah,
This is all year round, like for every holiday.
Right.
So for Valentine's Day, you can make them red.
And like
Uh-huh.
You know,
Thanksgiving,
for-
you could do like
Yeah.
brown and red or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and what's funny, I feel like I decorate for zero. I will decorate a little bit, like winter seasonally, but otherwise, like I feel like my mom always gets on me. Like I'm not putting out like fall decorations and spring decorations. I'm like, what? You dig them out, you put them out, and then you like leave them out too long, and then you're a
Right.
bit embarrassed, and you
Uh-huh.
just put them away. Like
Yep.
yeah.
this would be good because then actually you could kind of like be doing something for each holiday without having to get the stuff out.
And not only that, I'm a big fan of outdoor lighting because
Mhm.
I have landscape lighting all around my house, and it's on all the time. It's not even like solar because I
Yeah.
don't think it's bright enough. Like solar's to me is not bright enough.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love this idea because not only like if you're not into the color thing, you just make them white.
Yeah.
And it just lights up your house at night. So it's a safety thing too.
Mhm.
And it just everybody when you're out there looking at the homes and stuff, anybody that has outdoor lighting or landscape lighting, it has a different effect,
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
it? It has this
Oh,
really
yeah.
nice effect.
Oh my gosh.
So how does the process work? Like let's say I was like, yeah, I think I want this. Do you go to the website? Is it priced based on like how many feet you're putting up, or is it like per project to some extent?
Yeah, so it's gonna be based off of how much you were putting up. Basically, we price it by linear foot, and then you go on the website, you put in a request for an estimate. We'll call you up. We'll set up a day and time to come out and see your property.
Mhm.
Go over where you might want to put it on there. Take some measurements, some photos, and then we'll send you an estimate that says it's this many feet. We'll give you a little picture where we're gonna put it.
Yeah.
Approximately here. Obviously there's things that come up.
Yeah.
Got to be moved a little hair or whatever.
Right,
But we talk to you about all that.
Yeah.
And then you want to move forward. You can just pay us over from your phone or your
Yeah.
computer. Just take a deposit, and then we order the stuff. Within 3-4 weeks, it's up. It's pretty easy.
Is it typically a 1-day install? And I know it varies on square footage, but
Yeah.
it?
I know there's some houses we can do 2 in a day, 3 in a day, and some houses it could take 2 days. But for the most part, it's less than a day.
that's
awesome.
awesome. So again, it's delcotrimlight.com, and Curtis has a Instagram.
Yep. Oh, wait, I didn't write down your Instagram. We just wrote down your website.
What's your Instagram?
It's Delco Trim Light.
Delco Trim Light.
It's Instagram.com/Delco Trim Light.
All right, and we are getting played out, but I'm Sarah. You can find me on Instagram at Ty_Ty Time. We got Stacy Mitchell here at 2Mitchko, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
That's not my Instagram.